Well, hello there. Welcome to our long weekend edition of our online gathering. And our gathering, actually, this is the only gathering we're doing this weekend. On long weekends, our tradition at the Village is that we rest. We give our volunteers a break. They work hard every single Sunday and all the other things that we do to make things happen. And so there's purpose in that. And then there's just this sense of kind of encouraging a full weekend Sabbath, in a sense that you just drop everything and you just rest, and you spend some time with family. Maybe you are intentionally spending time with neighbors. Hopefully you're taking some time during a weekend like this even to just quiet your heart and pray. And so that's what we do on long weekends. This is considered the family long weekend in Ontario, and so the emphasis is that. And so we wanted to encourage people to spend some time with family as well. So if you're a family of 5 or 3 or 2, or even just a family of 1, what are you doing to fill yourself up this week and enrich your life, find some rest, whatever the case may be? We just started a series a couple of weeks ago called the OGs of the OT, the originals of the Old Testament. And we're going to be walking through people's stories and people's lives. And we did that last week as we just touched on, in a summary kind of way, the life of Abraham. And one of the things we brought up last week was that when Abraham moved to a certain place, he would pitch a tent, he would build up a tent, a place to live, a place to be covered, and then he would build an altar. There's actually 11 places in Genesis between Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob's story that talk about them building an altar. And in most of those instances, it would be a place to remember that God was present, that God brought them to a place, that God called them to a place, that God helped them get through a certain struggle or a certain season or a certain journey. And the sense that it's a reminder that God meets us where we are. And then whenever maybe we forget, we can remember that He was with us. And so we brought that up last week, and just kind of to refresh our memories about that, more so in a reflective and a thoughtful way. This idea of moving to a certain place, pitching a tent, your home, your family, your life, your work, the stuff that is your everyday thing. And then at the same time, what we see in these characters' lives and these people's lives in Genesis is that they also build an altar. So it represents prayer and presence and memory and formation. And we don't want to make it weird or like what an altar. It doesn't even sound like a normal word for us in 2023. But reading that in the narrative of the Old Testament just helps us kind of see the balance between those two spaces in our lives, right? I remember places and spaces in my life, and I haven't lived that long, but I am 49, where God met me, where I really felt God was present, where I felt God spoke to me, or God encouraged me, or God challenged me, or God convicted me. And when I do remember those moments, there's a certain confidence, not arrogance, confidence that God still does that, and God will be present with me in whatever season I'm in. You may be listening today and you've been walking through a tough time, or there's something lacking in your life. It could be relational, it could be financial, it could be brokenness. Maybe in your faith you've been struggling. Maybe you've been tearing things apart and being uncertain about things you used to believe in. And perhaps just by hearing this, you can say, you know what? There was this moment in my life where I was so certain that God was with me, and it felt so real. And even though things seemed to be blown up in my life at the moment, that was really real. And so maybe if you kind of look back, and yes, there might be some difficult things in your life when you look back, but if you look at some moments where you're like, I definitely know that God was with me there, maybe it can encourage you right now in whatever season that you are walking through. The Old Testament characters don't always get things right. We're going to learn that in this series. If you just read through some of the books of the Old Testament, you will see that. But in their journey to discover God, this was so profound. They built spaces, or remembered spaces, built places where they knew, and just beyond a shadow of a doubt, they're like, God was here in this moment. We don't want to forget it. It's so important that we don't want to forget it. We want to be able to look back and say, yeah, God was with me. And because God was with me then, I believe that God can be with me now. And maybe you need to hear that today. So I'm going to leave you with two questions. And then if you want to stick around, I'm going to sing a song just to maybe help your heart and your mind kind of quiet a little bit, and we can reflect on some of this stuff. But here are the two questions. How does the altar, those places and spaces that you remember God, how does that impact your home? The tent that you build and pitch, right? And then the other question is this: how does the tent, the home, your family, your everyday thing, do you invite the altar, the memory of God's presence and the reality, not just memory, the present reality of God's presence, do you invite that into your everyday life? I hope that you do. I'm going to sing this song to close up today, and then I'm just going to simply say amen at the end of it. Maybe this can be a prayer as we close. If my heart is overwhelmed and I cannot hear your voice, I hold on to what is true, though I cannot see. If the storms of life they come and the road ahead gets steep, I will lift these hands of faith, I will believe. I'll remind myself of all that you've done and the life I have because of your Son. Love came down and rescued me. Love came down and set me free. I am yours. I'm forever yours. Mountain high or valley low, I sing out, remind my soul that I am yours. I'm forever yours. When my heart is filled with hope and a promise comes my way, when I feel your hands of grace rest upon me, staying desperate for you, God, staying humble at your feet, I will lift these hands in praise, oh, I will believe. I'll remind myself of all that you've done and the life I have because of your Son. Love came down and rescued me. Love came down and set me free. I am yours. I am forever yours. Mountain high or valley low, I sing out, remind my soul that I am yours, I am forever yours. I am yours,